Untitled Chapter.
Cool. Let's go back. We're good. Yeah, we're going back.
You want us to move this?
No, we're good. It's good. It's real good. It'll have us perfect.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, make your way back towards the main stage. Our next speaker will be coming up in just a few minutes. I know you're anxious. If there's anyone here at SharkCon who has the taste for adventure, wants to hear about diving with sharks and videotaping sharks and taking pictures of sharks, come on back to the main stage. You're going to love our next speaker. And if you want to get into that lifestyle, you can begin with our sponsor back here, Trilogy Dive Center. They're going to get you going right now. You can take a free dive right now. They'll teach you about scuba diving, and before you know it, you'll be out there swimming with sharks. And then in a few years, you'll be up on the stage showing us your pictures. We would love that. Come on back to the main stage. Our next speaker coming up soon. Oh, speaking of pictures, look at that, that's cool. You're also gonna get a chance to be witnessed live recording of a Shark Life podcast. And of course, you'll get your chance to ask questions to our guest speakers. And then maybe later on, you get to hear yourself over the internet on a podcast. That could be so cool. All right, let me tell you about our next speaker. Or I should say next speaker is Ryan Walton and Josh Raya. These guys are professional scuba divers, shark divers, athletes, cameramen, entrepreneurs. Well, after seeing firsthand what dangers our oceans are facing, they decided to become conservationists. So they use their underwater cameras to document the things that they're seeing under the ocean waves and showing us all the beauty that's under the ocean, trying to get us all to care a little bit more. I know here at SharkCon we already care about the condition of our oceans and especially sharks, because of the work of guys like this to show it to us. So thankfully, they're under there and they're going to talk about their latest dive, I believe, off the coast of Florida here. And they're going to chit-chat back and forth about what they saw, and maybe they're going to show us some pictures and stuff, or talk us through it, and then you guys will have a chance to ask them questions, of course, afterwards. Are you guys excited? You ready? We got any shark divers out there? We do have some shark. Oh, this is going to be pretty good. And we got, does the dog dive for sharks? No? No, he's not there yet.
Shark bait.
He's shark bait. Excellent. All right, well, I think our speakers are ready. Let me take a look back here. You guys ready? All right, so without much further ado, let me bring to the stage Ryan Walton, Josh Raya, the members of the Shark Life podcast, going to tell us a bit about their latest adventures. And I believe before that starts, they got their own introductory video that goes along with their podcast. All right, guys, here we go.
Enemies close, have me thinking they're friends. 10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took too many years, I was waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me, oh you matter what. Add it up. Told her if it's all me, everything is on me, gon' back it up. Matter what. Told you I'ma do me, why you hating on me, it's not adding up.
Hey, mine works.
Mine doesn't.
Hey, everybody.
There we go. Hey, how's everybody doing today? My name is Ryan Walton,
I'm Josh Ryle.
and welcome to My Shark Life. We are normally out there in the deep blue, using gear like this, filming crazy wildlife, but when we're not doing that, we have our podcast where we talk about what we do. So we thought we'd bring that to y'all today. We're gonna have some fun talking together and including you. I know normally they do the questions after, but if y'all have any questions during it and we see you, raise your hand and we will try and get to you right away so we can kind of include you in our conversation. So it's right there with the microphone. We'll do it a little bit differently for this one so we can keep you included the whole time. So, for your first time speaking here,
Hey, buddy.
how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you shaking or what?
No, I'm good to go.
So I spoke here in 2017 and I was newer in the industry then and things were a lot different for sharks. It's crazy to think about the evolution over just the past 5 years in the shark industry. But now, having the experiences we do, I have a lot more to talk about. And Josh has been with me for the past three and a half years.
Too long.
A lot of time spent together. The most memorable parts of my career are with the last 3.5 years with Josh, the other Josh Schellenberg's here. Shout out Josh Schellenberg up at the front. Our group, the homies. We've been traveling the world together, filming all sorts of wildlife to bring it to you, for people that might not be able to access it and see things the way that we get to see them. So last month was the world famous beach known as Tiger Beach. Josh, what are your thoughts from Tiger Beach?
I don't know where you want me to start on that one. Tiger Beach was mind-blowing. The size of the animals, the number of them we had, the group we were there together, the conditions. I've never had a more perfect trip in my life. So really appreciate putting that together.
One of the coolest things that you just said was the conditions. So I'm one of the owners of Shark Tours. Josh is one of the safety divers and marine biologists at Shark Tours here in Florida. But when we travel, we get such different conditions. Here in Florida, you see mostly that blue backdrop, right? If you've seen the scuba boats or the snorkel boats, it's blue. Sometimes there's sargassum or there's sand. You don't have any other options other than that. But when you get to Tiger Beach, what did you see?
Well, the range of wildlife there was insane. So obviously we went to start to see the tiger sharks, right? But between that, there was lemons, there was reef sharks, there were sea turtles, and they call it Tiger Beach because it's kind of in a sandy area, but it's surrounded by one of the nicest coral reefs that you'll see in the Bahamas. So fantastic.
That's one thing I talk about is the coral reef. So Josh and I were kind of off on the end. You got 4 tiger sharks mixing in the middle, and they were very strict about, well, stay in a straight line. Unless your name's Ryan or Josh. So we kind of made our way out to the edge so we could do our own thing. And if you stop by our booth at the front, you'll see the photos we went for. We didn't want the blue backdrops or just the sand backdrops. We went buddy to buddy, back to back with big, hungry tiger sharks to the coral reef. We went to the reef backdrop, and we wanted something unique that not everybody is putting out from Tiger Beach. Everybody, who's heard of Tiger Beach in the Bahamas? See? Everybody? So we see that footage, and you probably see a sandy bottom with sharks and light blue water in the background. Not many people are highlighting the fact that it is a pristine coral reef system. And what happens is when more sharks are present, you have more reef fish present. So unlike the Florida Keys and South Florida that's been overfished, overdove, you get places like Tiger Beach where the sharks are actually protected and you see what results from having healthy shark populations. So that was incredible for us to get to see with our group as well, because we're so used to what happens here in Florida.
Absolutely, and it was the first shark trip that I'd done where, unfortunately, here in Florida, you get in the water and a lot of sharks have damage. So they have hooks, they've got cut marks, different things from fighting fishing lines. They get tangled up in nets, that sort of thing. Every tiger shark there was pristine, 11 or 12 feet long, beautiful pattern, no hooks. It made me a happy diver to be in the water like that.
It's crazy too. So I highlighted that it's a sanctuary and you see that healthy ecosystem, but I also want to highlight one thing, because it's not all fluffy. As soon as those tiger sharks leave Tiger Beach, they're no longer protected. So as much as a safe haven as it is, and as much as they spend 9 out of 12 months out of the year there for the most part, there is a certain time in their calendar when they migrate, they are not protected. So it's a beautiful thing to have that area protected so that it remains healthy with sharks. And we've seen, again, the snapper.
The Cubera.
It was a Cubera.
It's the biggest one I've ever seen.
I've never seen a Cubera snapper that big. I promise, diving off Florida, you've never seen a Cubera snapper that big. That comes from a healthy ecosystem. So Tiger Beach was absolutely incredible. Before we open up to other places we've been, because Tiger Beach we could run on. Does anybody have any questions about Tiger Beach specifically?
How do you make sure you don't look like prey?
That is a good question. That's part of my briefing on the boat, so I'm going to cover that for you. Rule number 1, don't be dumb. Stay out of the chum. It's got a ring to it. I tell everybody I'm working on my Hallmark career in case Shark Tours doesn't work out. But that's rule number 1, stay out of the chum. Rule number 2, don't act like a dying animal. And I know that sounds silly to some, but what do I mean? Don't flap around, don't splash around, right? So if you don't associate yourself in your chum and you don't act like chum, I'm promising you, they're not going to associate you as chum. So that is exactly what we brief. Say you're on a trip with us here in Florida, we always position you 15 feet away from the chum. I tell you all the time, hey, this is where the chum is, you better not be there. And then the other one's on you. We say, if you're going to come with us, please be a strong floater. You don't have to be a strong swimmer, but you got to be a strong floater. You got to be able to just chill on the surface and relax. And if you can do those things, sharks are not going to look at you as prey.
The way I like to brief it when I do the safety on the boat, it's all about making the good and the right decisions. So if you're thinking, hey, should I or should I not do this, you probably shouldn't do it. So just... Do you want to talk about how they set up Tiger Beach? Because I think that'll, safety-wise, kind of put it in perspective.
I'm going to get this question, and then I'll go back to that. Yeah.
I was just wondering if you found it to be a very shark people socialized area, because I have seen Jim Abernathy take their tours there quite often, and he has Emma there quite a bit, and he pets his sharks like puppies.
I'd be happy to comment on that. I don't agree with that at all. I don't believe in affection with sharks. Mr. Abernathy has claimed affection for years with sharks, and I think it's silly. Sharks are wild animals. They do not care about us in an emotional state in any way, shape, or form. So I'll go to that first. As for the habituation, Dr. Neil Hammerschlag has a report that is very, very in-depth about short-term and long-term conditioning. I'm going to answer this one. If I believed that I could condition sharks long-term, I would not participate in chumming. Short-term, they absolutely form a hierarchy. Once chum hits the water, those sharks know there's other sharks around. They're going to adapt to that. But it's no different than if a fisherman loses their catch. That dead shark or half-dead shark hits the water, and now there's a boat, there's people, and there's a dying animal, and there's sharks competing for it. So once you break down the structure of it, there is no difference. Long-term, I can confirm, based on our data locally, the sharks still migrate just the same way they did 7 years ago. Our summer sharks never became winter sharks, and our winter sharks never became summer sharks. June to August, early September, depending on the water temperature, is when we have our summer sharks. Then mid-September until about the end of May is our winter sharks. That's never changed long term. So when we talk about habituation with sharks, fish, and then talk about bears and other animals that provenly can be habituated, sharks aren't there. They still have a natural prey drive, they have natural instincts that a human cannot conquer, I should say. That was a great question, thank you.
The way I like to look at like habituation as well, so just from what we've seen, we feel that it has to be a combination of factors in order for the shark to realize, oh hey, this might be what's going on, right? So very, very intelligent, very mathematical and calculated predators. I look at their brain as just one big calculation of, is it worth it to swim over here and see if there's food? Because that's all that they're worried about, right?
One thing we note though is like when we pulled up, and you're gonna see, so episodes 1 and 2 of My Shark Life Season 2 are all Tiger Beach. So we packed a lot of action and I needed 2 episodes for it. When we pull up, the Caribbean reef sharks and the lemon sharks are coming up to the boat. So not every boat does what the gentleman you mentioned does. He hangs 20-something crates off his boat. We don't see a need for that either. We got 1 crate off the bow and 1 crate in the water. We can get the sharks to come in. There's also, you gotta scale back sometimes. There's not always a reason to go overboard. With that said, though, we do see when we pull up there that the reef sharks and stuff, they come in. But I want to comment on why I believe partially that's not just an association to a boat or chum. That's an association to the fact that there's so many sharks there to a healthy ecosystem, they know they need to compete. So if one shark responds, whether they know what's going on over here or not, the rest of those sharks are going to follow because they know they have to take advantage of an opportunity. So that's not always clear habituation, but I would see where it can be confused as such because they do follow the boat. We witnessed that. We watched the reefies and the lemons come up behind the boat and we're like, oh, we already got sharks. There's no chum in the water. To me, in a shark, and we're seeing the way sharks act, maneuver, save energy, to me, that's a competition thing. I got to get there first just in case. And that's not necessarily tourism based. That could be a fish from a fisherman that they know they're going to take before that fisherman could. And the term for that is depredation, which is a huge study that's ongoing right now.
Yeah, habituation's a tough thing because it's kind of classified as an involuntary, something that happens like a cause and effect, right? So, you get in the water with food, and if it was involuntary, you should have all the sharks right up in your face immediately. And that's not really happening. I've been habituated, so if I hear somebody crack open a beer, I'm immediately got up and seeing where it is. But it's not that same type of thing. So.
All right, so hey, that was amazing questions, awesome. So we'll do that again over the next segment. One really exciting chapter of our career. So we have a friendly competition. I mentioned Josh Schellenberg already. He decided to take off to the Pacific Ocean without us and check off a whole bunch of species we don't have. So we're kind of mad at him for that. But we got a species without Josh Schellenberg called the Mexican horn shark. So this is a cool story. So here's where we talk about the relationship I think we should have with fishermen. That wasn't what I was talking about. Sorry about that. I guess we're not gonna have a relationship with fishermen. Oops. All right, so we're in Bahia de Magdalena. And does anybody know where Bahia de Magdalena is, or have you been there? Mag Bay.
I think that young man in the blue knows where it is.
He wants to go there. He's got a question the whole time. He can wait. Mag Bay.
It's Ryan's son.
That's my son, so he can wait. He can ask later. Mag Bay is a bay off of off the Baja California Sur. They call it Bahia de Magdalena. This bay is offset on the western side of the Baja California Peninsula. It's about 6 hours north of Cabo San Lucas. Everybody's heard of Cabo? Cabo San Lucas, you know where that is. Okay, 6 hours north, there's this untouched, we call it Old Mexico because it's not developed, it's old Mexico. It's awesome.
If you want to go somewhere where there's actually no people, I know everybody feels like, oh, I just want to get out of here. That's a great spot to go because you can drive for 3 hours and not see anything.
You're going to see a horse, a roadrunner, what's the other cool bird? A caracara, and no people. So that's about what you see on the way to Mag Bay. I saw that. All right, see, she's out of here. All right, so Mag Bay is, like I said, 6 hours north of Cabo, and we go there to film striped marlin, sea lions, mackerel and sardine bait balls, olive ridley sea turtles, and a bunch of other cool stuff. So I was doing research before we went, and I was like, hey, there's a shark species there we could check off. So I started asking everybody, I'm like, hey, have you heard of the Mexican horn shark? So here we go again. Have you heard of the Mexican horn shark? Let me see a show of hands. Epic. Judah, you're the only one because you follow both of us on social media. Put that hand down. I see you. All right, so other than Judah, nobody's heard of the Mexican horn shark, and that's exactly how we like it. So we hit up our captain, who speaks zero English, so I needed a translator, and we're like, Jose, put us on the Mexican horn shark. And he's like, I've never heard of this. We're like, God, that's not good. You live here. Like, we're never going to find it. So we circled back. We looked at these fishing reports. And we're looking at literally documented longline fishing and what they put out. And I'm like, they're here. You're just not seeing them, or we're having a language barrier maybe. So then we showed him a picture. And he goes, tiburon, which would be dog shark. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. But we're like, you know what? Take us to your dog shark. Just take us where you've caught these. It's okay. So it was about 25 minutes in, and he's dropped us in like 15 feet of water. And we're thinking sharks. So we're hitting different ledges. We're thinking about there's help me, kelp.
Oh, kelp, yeah.
So there's the kelp beds. It's like a nano kelp though, not like the big ones you see. So these sharks, from what I read, were 24 to 30 inches in length. So we see all these kelp beds and these ledges, and I'm seeing all sorts of stuff that triggers my ADD, like Garibaldi and a black sea turtle, and
Very distracting.
very distracting, diving in the Pacific where I haven't been before, trying to look for one fish. And then our buddy Brad just starts screaming my name like something's going on, and I'm like, where is he? And I see his hand like way out there by one of those blow-up sharks, and I'm like, oh crap, it's a long swim. So I start swimming, and I'm like, and in my head, I got a camera rig, it's heavy, it's got drag. I'm going through the water, and I'm like, by the time I get there, I'm never gonna see this if it's what I think it is.
I can swim a lot faster than Ryan can, so I smoked him over there.
He was gone, and I'm like, this sucks. So I'm like panting, I think I'm gonna pass out. I got the camera rig. I got there, and it's still in the ledge. And I'm like, what? Like, this is sick, we found it. Like, we're 1, 2, and 3 of maybe 10 people in the world who are gonna have this chance to photograph it. And it's in the ledge. So I'm like, all right, so let's be patient, let's wait. There's one problem with that, I don't have any patience. So I gave it a little poke, which is frowned upon. I do not recommend touching, petting sharks in any way. But I gave its tail a wee little poke and forgot it was called a horn shark.
And he got bit right in the face.
I did not, that is a lie. So I gave it the little poke, and the thing rockets out of the ledge. And I'm like, oh no, I screwed it up for everybody. So like, somebody follow it. So we basically real quick got in this rhythm where somebody would follow it, and it calmed down, and we pointed, the next person would dive, and the next person would follow, the next person would dive, and we got a bunch of photos and videos of the Mexican horn shark, and we went back and proved it was the subspecies. There's another one, it's in California called the California horn shark, and the difference in the scientific name is Francisci or Mexicanus. We succeeded, we got the Mexicanus, so.
It was a beautiful little shark. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was only, maybe 1.5 foot long, really tiny. The skin kind of sparkled. It was like it was made up of little individual like diamonds all peppered onto its skin. And it feels really good to be one of the few people that have cataloged it. So that was very exciting.
It is. I definitely hold that part of it to a higher standard. And what's really cool is for years, Mag Bay's been hot for like 8 years, 9 years. Been one of those destinations where it was, I gotta go see the marlin, I gotta go see this. It's sick. I mean, it's an adrenaline rush. High speed event, natural event. You're not chumming. I mean, you're literally jumping off the boat with animals at full speed. Marlin are one of the top 4 fastest animals in the ocean, in the world. And you're jumping off in front of a bait ball that they're chasing. I mean, there's no like set it up. No, you send it. You send it the whole time. So now that we found that Mexican horn shark, a bunch of the boats have actually redesigned their tours to look for the Mexican horn shark within the bay while they're there. So again, bringing awareness to sharks, showing people more species. Every year it seems a new species is being discovered. Again, we didn't discover that species, but we were some of the first people to photograph it in the wild alive, because it was fishermen who discovered that it was a subspecies. So super, super cool to have played a part in that, maybe inspired other group leaders to want to take people to see that shark. And most people, you think of shark tourism, tiger, hammer, great white, mako. You didn't think Mexican horn shark. In fact, we taught all of you today that the Mexican horn shark even existed. So pretty cool. I'm watching the clock. I know we got a couple minutes after that expires, but there's one non-shark moment that we should obviously talk about. Everybody asks questions, and I'm sure we can answer them after we talk about it. We were in Mag Bay, and we were filming Marlin, and we were south of Santa Margarita Island by about 40 miles. We were out there, and all I heard on the radio was orca, and it was a lifelong dream of mine to swim with orcas in the wild. And I looked at the co-group leader who owns the company out there because, again, side note, wherever I travel, I make sure I use local operations. I don't believe in going somewhere and using somebody that doesn't live there. You support the locals, you support their economy, and you make sure that while you're using their wildlife, you help the people in that area, in that location. So
it's to your benefit as well if you're ever traveling somewhere, especially overseas, and you're looking for a guide.
Captain Jose.
Exactly. It has to be somebody local, because the guys that we have, Jose and Miguel and Martin, that take us out, they grew up there. So they know better than absolutely anybody World of Wildlife is. And you'll ask them, it's like, hey, when can we do this? When we can do this? And they'll give you the exact time of year, time of day you should go, and then they'll take you to the spot as well. And it's terrific because it preserves their place where they grew up. They've got their own spots to take people, and then it really gives back to them for us showing up there from the US to go and explore.
Yeah, so side note, we always like to touch on that. We always support the locals wherever we travel. We're firm on that. So we heard on the radio, and Jacob owns Cabo Shark Dive, and him and Miguel co-own it together. And I look at Jacobo and he's like, Brian, it's an hour and a half north. I'm like, I don't care. Like, they're orcas. He's like,
orcas, man.
By the time we get there, they could be gone. And I'm like, I don't care. We told everybody in the briefing, night one, I don't care what's going on. If orcas show up, we're out, period. So he's like, okay. That was one of the most tense hour and a half of my life.
It was the most exciting, exhilarating.
We sat there like this. It was bumpy, so we're like on the stool, like.
I was sitting with all my gear on for like an hour and a half riding out because I just didn't want to miss it, just in case they popped up.
Just in case. So we got there, and you see all these boats around, and they're like looking, and I'm like, oh God, I screwed up. And the orcas were gone. And I'm looking at the group, and I'm like, they're gonna kill me. And within about 5 minutes, off of our bow, you saw the spray in their blowhole. Just like, orcas! And we spent the next 2 hours flying off that boat at full speed, swimming with a pod of 14 orcas. And that was one of the most exciting moments of our career. I mean, the chase, it's the chase over and over again. Certain animals, we get it set in our mind, and it's like, hey, we're gonna go film this. And you go and you miss it. And I went in 19, found orcas, too many boats cornered us, I couldn't get in the water, it was unsafe. I literally left in tears because I had a bunch of topside footage, and I wasn't allowed in the water because I was gonna get hit by somebody else's boat because of the disrespect from those other boats at the time. So I went, it was like a year and a half, and we talked about it, we built it up, you know, what do they say, speak it into existence.
Exactly.
And then we were out there, and as soon as you hear orca on the radio, it's just like the world stopped.
Everybody goes silent and just starts putting all their gear on, getting ready to jump.
Actually, Jacob was like, Ryan, shut up, I'm trying to get numbers. I'm like, oh, it's that real? There's numbers? Numbers meaning coordinates. I'm like, oh, we're for real this time. So we did, and then, so follow into that, back to mako and blue sharks, we'll follow into another orca story, and then it looks like we're gonna have to switch to questions soon. We went back 6 hours south to Cabo San Lucas. And we were out there, this was not this March, last March. Yeah, see, so these fade, like, they start to blur together for me. I always gotta look and be like, which trip was this? So last March, we struggled with the sharks. La Nina came through, so we're having El Nino and La Nina. I feel like it's every other year, one of them strikes, and basically it's based on climate change. And you see certain things with the currents and the weather patterns, and you get algal blooms, You get the algal blooms, and they change the diving. And we went the whole day. I actually almost didn't go back out. The boat was
I
spinning.
was so sunburned.
I was seasick. I was puking in the morning. We got back to the dock, and I'm like, y'all, I don't know if I could do this again today. Like, the boat's spinning in circles out there. This isn't gonna work. Like, we're not chumming right. Like, you chum in a circle, it doesn't do anything. You need it to travel. Mako sharks, blue sharks, they travel over 100 miles a day. So we're chumming. And this answers many more of your questions. You throw chum in the water and sharks are bloodthirsty animals? No. We chummed for 7 hours that day and never saw a shark. So, Josh Ellenberg was gonna be with us on that trip. I did just see him, that's why I called him out again. He was supposed to be with us and he texted me, but it was when I was bent over the side of the boat puking in the morning. So I didn't reply, but he's like, hey Ryan, I think I'm gonna go on a faster boat. The orcas were spotted 26 miles north. I'm like, come on, man. You can't leave us now. We're chumming our butts off and he's gonna go chase the orcas. So I was, come on, like, you're gonna get them and we're gonna sit there looking at each other all day. So we went out, we chummed again. I went back with them after I said I wasn't gonna. I had to suck it up, so lesson, everybody, even if you feel like you can't do it just in case, because it's when you don't go that they're gonna get something real sick. So we went back out, we chummed for another 3.5 hours, nothing. So we were far enough offshore where we were outside of different laws and stuff where if you had stagnant whales, you could jump. So like, you know what, we're out here in Neverland, let's try and put our guests on something after a long, stressful day. So we had a mom and calf humpback, which I don't like to drop with the mom and calf because it's an important part of their life and you don't want to interrupt that. So we read the behavior and we called it. We weren't dropping with them. We said, this isn't the right move. Let's leave these whales alone. So we were literally on the cooler together, sitting just like this, sulking. And Martine.
It was a sad day.
It was a sad day. And Martine just yells, orcas. And I looked up at him and I said, shut up, Martine. I was like, that's not funny. And we looked off to the side of the boat and there was a pod of about 15, 16 orcas again. So if you chase it long enough, I heard Brett Raymer say it earlier, you can be told no over and over again, you can chase your dreams over and over and over again, but if you keep chasing them, it's gonna happen. And we always say, speak it into existence. This is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen. And that's kind of our style when we go on these trips. This is what we're gonna do, this is what we're gonna get, and this is the outcome. And 9 times out of 10, it happens like that. Or we go back and try again.
Yeah, really the moral of the story there is go have an adventure with your best friends, because when those orcas popped up, Ryan and I jumped up and we ran smack into each other trying to get our gear. So go with your buddies, do what you love, and maybe get a concussion while you're out there.
Yeah, the concussion's just the side of it. Yo, oh my God. No, the worst side effect of trips, I come home and my chest hurts so bad. I think I have COVID after every trip. You know the side effects these days? Oh, your chest hurts. I'm laughing so much for 5 days straight. I go home with a chest ache and I go home with a COVID test thinking I can't go to work for the next week. But it's really just laughing with all my friends. So if that happens to you, don't worry about it. It's not COVID. It's from laughing so hard over the course of the week. We got 3 minutes. Let's open it up.
Questions?
Let's do it. Any questions out there about any of our crazy experiences? Koa, what is your question? We got a couple up top. We're going to start up top.
What was the biggest orca you got to see?
Ooh, the male on that trip.
The
The orca behavior is fascinating. So as a pod, there's usually one big male dominant orca. He could be up to 40 feet long, a couple of tons. There's usually a smaller female, and then the young ones, both male and female, kind of mixed together. And the male's job is to distract you and drive you away from the female and the other little orcas. So he pops up, he's got a huge dorsal fin, he comes ripping, he'll swim right at your boat, and then he wants you to follow him. So I was ready with my gear, ready to jump, and he was swimming straight at us.
I got this whole video.
Down.
I got this all on video.
And I said to myself, I saw him and I was like, all right, if he pops up again, I'm jumping. So I jumped off the boat and he came up at the same time, and his eye was like this close to my face, so I almost landed right on top of him. So that was the largest orca and also the closest that I've ever got.
Yeah, it's fascinating watching them. Both times we had them close together. and the male, there's a single solitary male with a group of females. Some of the young ones might be male, but we can't tell yet. But the alpha male, literally, like Josh said, you watch him like show off that dorsal, like I'm over here, leave the girls alone. And it's crazy. We watch him do it every interaction we've had with him. It happens. It's so cool.
What marine animals are still left on your bucket list?
I'll let Josh go first. They're similar.
So the sawfish is going to be a big one for me because that's.
I already got it.
That's you can find them here in Florida, so I'd love to see those. I've had some interactions with mola mola, big ocean sunfish, but I actually don't have any photos of those yet, and they're one of my favorite fish in the ocean. And I think the oarfish will be my top.
Is that what Matt just had under our boat?
We had one off the boat the other day. Of course, I wasn't there.
It was
it's a big 40-foot long silver fish with red streamers, and they're said to predict earthquakes because they come up from the depths after that happens.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we're all right though.
And my answer to that, one of the biggest, no pun intended, for me is the blue whale. I have been wanting to see a blue whale for quite some time. I've kind of targeted in when they migrate past San Diego. So we are going to San Diego next July to try and film blue whales for the first time. Since it is within the United States, we cannot get in the water with them there. So that would have to be a lucky encounter on the other side of their migration, going back past Magdalena Bay at the opposite time of the year, but that's more luck. There are large numbers of them migrating late June to early July up past San Diego and out into that deep water. So next July, we're gonna chase them. For a shark, it's still the oceanic white tip for me. And we're going next April 28th. Next year, we leave to check that off. So again, even as ones pop up, we're like, all right, it's on the list. And we keep it going. It keeps it exciting. It keeps it fresh. I thought I saw another hand.
What am I?
Hey.
Have you guys ever seen sperm whales sleeping yet?
So in Dominica, you can go. And so that's a trip we've been thinking about for a while. I know exactly what you're talking about. You get a whole pod of them all kind of vertical, just asleep, maybe 60 feet below the surface, and that shot is a bucket list thing, right?
So we had a sperm whale off Jupiter, Florida, about 3 months ago. And the call came in, and we got a bunch of videos. I was heading out for a shark trip. And actually, Captain Aaron, who's up at our booth right now, I was like, let me drive. We're sending it. And we got out there, and by the time we got out, it had already moved straight east to where we couldn't chase anymore, and other boats were reporting it breaching in 200 feet of water off of Jupiter. So, little known fact, I don't know why it's not advertised, why it's not talked about, but there are families of sperm whales and pilot whales that live in the Gulf Stream off of Florida. It's just rare to see them because it's such a large area of water between here and the Bahamas. But there are resident pods of sperm and pilot whales out there.
Hey, Koa.
Hi, Koa.
How old can an orca live up to?
I know the answer in captivity is something like 50-something years.
It's a little bit longer.
Question, yeah. So yeah, I know the captivity answer is 50-something years. I'm not really sure what it is in the wild. Thanks, son. Cool. All right, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you listening. We know you didn't have much of a choice. So.
If you want to stop by and say hi, we got to get out here. We're the first booth up front, 507? They were 507. We'll be up front. We'll talk to you before you get out of here. Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Wow, that was awesome. You're welcome, guys. Did you guys enjoy that? Man, that was so cool, man. I'm living the wrong life, I gotta tell you. I gotta get out there and dive with sharks and stuff. I want to make a few announcements. First of all, of course, we have another speaker at 4 o'clock, so don't wander too far away. I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a little bit. But I also want to let you know that our cast of Jaws 2, they're going to be leaving at 4, so don't miss your opportunity to get over there and get your autographs from the cast of Jaws 2.